and 2. They stack the line of scrimmage. There's Dom Hill. There he goes. Dom Hill 40. Dom Hill 30. Downhill Dom Hill. Touchdown. 61 yards.
Smoky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peter Chevrolet.
Medlock, they fake it to him. James Keeper off the left side, breaks the tackle, into the secondary, skips away, and he will score. Touchdown, Duncanville.
Here's David Smoke.
We are down to 3 weeks left in the 2021 Texas high school football season. 3 weeks. After last year with some of the delays and seasons being started later, and of course teams that have to deal with COVID, almost everybody did. Last year just seemed like it took forever, and it did. This year has flown by. 3 weeks left. We're in the quarterfinal round for everybody except Class 1A, which is six-man football. They're in the semifinal rounds this weekend. And we'll look at the best games, and there are a bunch of them at the end of the show. We'll also hear from Diboll head coach Blake Morrison. What a run for the Lumberjacks. They beat Academy last week. We featured Academy with Chris Lancaster last week. First time ever for Diboll to be in the quarterfinal round. They have Lorena, and it will be a tough one because Ray Biles and Lorena have been pounding people. And then also we will hear Ruben Torres, the head coach, first year at Marlin. Marlin has football history. They've played for a state championship before. They've been deep, but it's been a long time. And they're in the quarterfinal round after they just absolutely just boat raced Toller in a game that I thought would be closer, and it really never was. And they have Crawford next. But let's look at a couple of games that caught my attention from last week, and you have to start with China Spring. First of all, there were several defending state champions who were knocked out. And obviously, two of them that represent like almost 20 state championships, not quite that. Aledo has 10, Carthage has their 8. But Aledo was beaten. And then on top of that, Carthage beaten by China Spring. Now, last year when they met, and they did in the quarterfinal round, Carthage won 52-14. It was somewhat competitive, a couple of things that could have gone China Spring's way, but it would have just delayed the inevitable. Carthage was on their way to winning another state championship under the great Scott Surratt. But you could see where China Spring had something. They've got a quarterback in Major Bowden who is just tough to handle. He runs kind of that almost sprint option. He's hard to find. He's got strong legs. He can throw the ball much better. But it's been the China Spring defense this year that has really grown up, and they really kept Carthage in check. They batted down a lot of those deep throws that Carthage can hit. They just beat Carthage in 27-17, and they now move into the quarterfinal round. How about College Station continue to be a wrecking crew, beat Wakeland 45-35 the week after Wakeland had beaten Highland Park. Denton, Ryan, and Longview meet for the second time, and Ryan wins 37-33. But, man, you know the Lobos, they're going to go down. You got to cut their head off, and they did. But a run for John King and the Lobos as well. Stephenville beat Argyle. You knew that would be good in Class 4A Division I. And then Melissa beat up on Don Hyde and the Pirates of La Vega 41-14. So I mentioned the game that came off the top, that China Spring game against Carthage. There's a couple of others. We're going to feature Diboll's Blake Morrison, as I mentioned, first time ever in the quarterfinal round, had to beat Academy, went down to a last-second field goal in the last 13 seconds to get to that point. Also, Lorena beat Columbus 62-13. They are good. Ray Biles told me earlier this year, the only thing that might eventually beat us, with all due respect, they're going to face people better and better and better, is if we don't get in our own way. And that's talking about the coaching staff, let the players play, and players listening and paying attention. Also, a team that just keeps on pounding people is Franklin, beat Riesel 60-0. Not surprised they won in a blowout, but what Mark Fannon's team is doing is pretty impressive week after week. There's going to be a hell of a game in East Texas. Dangerfield with all their pedigree. Whitney Keelan at Wascom, who's had one of the great turnarounds in high school football history in Texas. They meet in the quarterfinal round in Class 3A Division II. So those are some of the games that jump out at me, and there were others, some impressive wins and maybe a few. But like I said, Canadian got beat, another defending champion, so it sets up for some teams that are deeper than they've been ever, and in some cases never even dreamed they could get this far, but that's why you play the games. When we come back, we're going to hear from Marlin football coach Ruben Torres. What a run. What a turnaround in that district. What a tremendous run they are on, and now they face Crawford, who was 13-2 last year with Greg Jacobs, as the Texas High School Football Podcast, brought to you by our great friends at Peters Chevrolet, Randy Peters at peterscars.com, and this is 365 Sports.
All roads lead to your largest selection of pre-owned in East Texas. 3306 West Grande in Tyler. It's time for a car buying experience you will enjoy at Peters Auto Sports. Cars from ultimate luxury to affordable economy, trucks from work to play to all-out adventure. Come by 3306 West Grande in Tyler or visit us online at Peters Auto Sports and take advantage of our nationwide delivery. It's all here. Peters Auto Sports in Tyler.
For a limited time, refinance your vehicle and have 90 days with zero payments. Only at Genco FCU. Refinancing lowers your rate and you pay less for your car. You can't pass on rates as low as 1.75% for 48 months. Apply online today.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. Go to GencoFCU.org. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to the Texas High School Football Podcast on 365 Sports on YouTube, Sikkim 365 Radio, and brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, peterscars.com in Longview. Ruben Torres, the head coach at Marlin, first year as the head coach there. And what a story. Marlin has a history. They had a great run. I saw them in a state championship game at Trinity Mother Frances Hospital in Tyler, Stadium in Tyler against a red-hot team in Atlanta back in the day. I think that was back in 2003, and they were good for a nice stretch with 3 consecutive years or 4 or 5 years they won 11 games or more. But they have been on a run, a big-time run, just hammered Toller, beat Lindsay, just took Bosqueville out immediately in the opening round, and now they have Crawford, one of the tradition-rich teams in Class 2A as well. Ruben, how you been? How was practice so far this week?
Practice has been great for the last couple of weeks. So momentum's been building for sure. The excitement, the kids, the focus. So no complaints over here as far as practice goes.
Can you imagine right now the confidence that you've seen with your team, because you had to kind of build through the year? And I mean, it's like you guys have taken off. What is happening?
Well, I think a couple weeks ago, maybe about right after the Italy game, we had a choice where we could fold or we could decide to make a change. And I really believe our kids decided that we were going to make a change together as a team. And they started believing in themselves that they could play at a high level and that we could, get into the playoffs and not just get there, but possibly win a few games.
Well, you've done that. Does it matter now when you lost a game? Does it matter what happened in September? Is it all just right now? I know that led to how you guys turned this thing around. Does it even matter what happened during the regular season?
No. The things that happened to us in the regular season, of course, new coach, new staff, new vision. We knew we were going to work through some things. Obviously they never go the way you want. But as we started rolling and we got into the playoffs, I think like most coaches will tell you, it's a new season. And so we're in the big tournament. Everyone's 0-0. What we've done prior to this doesn't mean anything. And we're going to take it one game at a time.
For a small school the size of Marlin, and Marlin has had a history of players coming through the system who are very good, collegiately good, you have a team filled with some guys getting a lot of attention. Obviously, I love watching Butler in any way touch the football. Gillette, what he does as well, is a big-time player. Woodson with your passing game and what he can do also with his feet and his legs. You've been around. You saw them. You knew them. Are you sometimes amazed at who you have on that roster?
Well, I'm very proud of them, number one, because a lot of them are playing positions that they haven't played or they haven't played in a long time. And as they got comfortable and they started taking ownership of the offense and of the team, I'd be lying to you if I told you that, sometimes we call a play and then you just see it unfold, and it's been pretty amazing and fun to watch.
And there's Lofton and there's others, and I could go down the list, and I don't want to forget anybody, but these guys have been making some plays as well. Reuben, Crawford, we know their history. They've won a state championship. They've been right on the cusp. They were 12-3 last year. It's one of the best programs in the last, 20, 25 years in the classification they've been a part of. What is the challenge of facing them and Greg Jacobs this week?
Extremely fundamentally sound. And what's impressed me about them, and I'll start on the defensive side of the ball with them, is their ability to scheme and coach to their opponent. As you start breaking down the film, you see a lot of nuances in their coverages and changes from week to week to really nullify or neutralize the other team's offensive weapons out on the edge. Their defensive front does a great job of occupying blocks and letting their linebackers run free. So they're extremely sound. You can see it right off the jump, how well coached they are and how hard their kids are playing. And then offensively, when you play that offense with three backs in the backfield, double tights, and then they'll get into a tight end with a slot and two back sets and trying to find that ball and locate it. So they're very versatile, and, they run hard. They do a great job of blocking down and kicking out and getting on the edge. And then as soon as you think you got that figured out, they'll come with a play action pass and hit the tight end over the top. So very, very impressed with them. They're obviously deserve everything that they get, that they've earned, that they've worked for, the credit that their coaching staff and those kids in that community have achieved so far.
Have you played anybody that's similar to them during the year? Anybody with that kind of offense that they run or anything similar to Crawford?
No, we played bits and pieces. I mean, I think Toller had backs that were very similar. Italy had backs that were similar. The size of their offensive line kind of resembled Cayuga in Italy, where they'll lean on you and they can really move you out of the way. Their quarterback, you could see him on the field. He just does a great job of running that offense and controlling it. So, I mean, bits and pieces, yes, but, they're 13-0 for a reason. And so I can't really say that we've seen a complete team in their style as we've seen until now.
When the opportunity arose that you had a chance to be the head coach at Marlin, what did you think? Obviously you saw what David and Stephen Hodge, among others, had tried to do and trying to turn the corner. And again, we've discussed this before, and it's a part of the story that a chapter of Marlin ISD that has struggled as well, and it's incredible what they've been able to do. I love it. I mean, it's one of the best stories in the state of Texas, if anybody's paying attention, in many ways. What did you see, and what was it when you were told you could be and you were going to be their next head coach?
Vision. And I saw a leadership team and a leadership group that completely was going to support me, push the envelope with extremely high demands. And as you alluded to, the struggles academically that they had been going through, the struggles within the community with, the freeze and COVID and kids moving out. So, it's definitely wasn't an ideal situation when you look at it on paper, but it was a great challenge. And when I saw the kids up close and personal prior to me receiving the job, and I saw them playing a basketball game, I just felt it in my heart that we could do something very special here. And we're taking those steps, and I'd be lying to you if I told you yes, we're going to be playing this great this late in the year. But I knew we had the opportunity to really improve greatly. And as these kids and the coaching staff bought in, I'm kind of looking back at it now and you could say, wow, we really have done a lot in a short amount of time. And I really don't believe we're done at all.
Riesel was your opening game. They played into the third round and, of course, eventually ran into a team called Franklin, and we know how good they are. Your other game, you mentioned Italy, and they just played Crawford, and that was a heck of a game. You lost by a couple. And Lexington was, I think, 7-5 or 6-5, made the playoffs, a division up ahead of you in Class 3A, and that was a pretty competitive game. Was there one game, you mentioned Italy, when you decided, okay, wait a minute, we're going to do this right, and you were trying to turn the corner? Was there a game when you saw that you had turned the corner?
It was Italy.
Okay.
I think that when they, we got up first in that game, and then they went up by 2 scores and were controlling the game, and our kids just didn't quit. They kept playing. They kept fighting. You started seeing them encourage each other. You didn't see them panic. You started seeing them kind of take the personality of the coaching staff, and we went in at halftime, and they were dialed in. We came out in the second half, and we had our opportunities, and we also, had a few mistakes that Italy definitely capitalized on. But that game went down to the very wire. And as we were walking into the locker room, and if you've ever been to Italy as a visitor, that's quite a walk. You could hear the kids saying, "We're not done. We're better than this. We're going to be okay." And that moment right there is when I knew we're going to turn the corner.
The last game of last year, your playoff loss was what? Bosqueville, was it 72-8? Was that right?
That is pretty accurate.
72-8, 61-6 to Italy the week before to end the district and the regular season. Man, that's resiliency, huh? That's like, okay, we got to the playoffs. Now let's go do something when we get there.
And our thing, as we started gaining confidence, and even in a loss, we gained a lot of confidence in the Italy game. The thing I told our team was, we're here, and we're not here just to be here. If we're going to be here, we're going to be here to compete and win. That's our goal. That's why we work hard on the weekends. That's why you guys are coming in on Saturdays. That's why you guys are doing the film study. So let's just not be here to be here. The goal wasn't just to be here. The goal was to be here and compete. And as long as we go out there and give it our best and put everything in there that we can Monday through Thursday, the results will take care of itself. So we've never put pressure on our kids to win or avenge Bosqueville or, hey, we've got to win the state title. Mm-hmm. It's been, let's just do our part and give ourselves the best opportunity to go out there, compete, and win. And everything will take care of itself. And the kids have bought into that. I mean, they're confident, they're loose, but they're extremely focused. And when they come in Saturday mornings, when they come into the locker room, you can just see it in their eyes. And I'll share a quick story with you. Yesterday, we had a college recruiter come down to meet with some of our boys. And after he met and spoke with them and they left, he said, "Coach, you got it. These guys are dialed in and locked in." And of course, I feel like that because I see them every day and I'm with them all day and on Saturdays. But I think people outside are starting to see them walking around with confidence. And it's not cockiness. They're extremely humble. They're extremely focused, but they do have confidence, and you see it in the smiles on their face.
It's a great story. We've mentioned it. When you think about your superintendent Hitchens and Sheila Henderson, who I've known because her son plays at Baylor and I've gotten to know her, what a great woman and great leader she has been as the athletic director. What is it like to see the excitement? You mentioned that kind of earlier when I brought it up, but what is it like to see them almost like every day right now in Marlin, Texas is Christmas morning?
It just fills your heart because it's something I've never been a part of, to see a community walking around with their heads higher, traveling to all our away games. And we had a lot of away games this year. And just, to see the smiles on their face. And for Marlin, football is a very big deal. And it means a lot to the community and to our players and our school environment. So it's something like I've never experienced before. And I've said before that there's not a day that goes by that I'm not happy to come to work, but I would take it a step further than that. I am extremely excited, and it's almost impossible for me to leave work just because I love being around these kids. I love being around our community members, our teachers, our staff, our cabinet. It's really been an amazing experience for me.
Ruben, this is my 40th year of covering Texas high school football. I started back in 1981, and I always say that just means I'm old, but I have been in communities, whether they're 6-man or the 6A, now 6A, where teams, when they start to get to a certain point of the playoffs, you start to see businesses, the windows. It's not just Christmas, but it's also Marlin or Bulldogs or whatever you have, paw prints, all that kind of thing. The face of a Bulldog. Do you see that right now in the community?
We see it everywhere. And ever since we started the playoffs, the streets are lined with fans and posters, people outside their businesses down on Main Street. You walk into a store and, people are high-fiving you, wanting to congratulate you. So, yes, it's been everywhere. And, again, just the fans. We were up in Alvarado last week, and the fans from Dallas and further north, Louisiana came up, people down in the Houston area. I had family coming over from El Paso. So it's really exciting. It's really exciting. And these kids, they're obviously putting on a great show out there for the fans to enjoy. But, at the end of the day, it's about them, and to see them just – smile so innocently and just feeling a sense of pride is really a special feeling.
For those that don't know, you came from El Paso. You've had success, 16 years in coaching, but your brother's an athletic coordinator at Pebble Hills in El Paso. Your brother is an offensive coordinator, another one at Sharpstown. So this is in your blood, right, Ruben?
Yes, somehow, some way, we all ended up in this great business of kids, and it was really nice to have my brother down in Sharpstown's been to all 3 playoff games, and my brother from El Paso will be flying in this week for this game. So, this is kind of what we live for, what we do, and we all 3 of us have a tremendous passion for kids and for the game of football and for coaches and the profession of coaching.
You've done a great job, and I know your goals are still ahead of you, and I know one of them, first of all, was taking care of business in Belton against Crawford, and Greg Jacobs and the Pirates, and Marlin, the Bulldogs, Ruben Torres. Man, this is going to be a fantastic game. We are carrying Marlin football on 106.7 FM, The Eagle, and also we carry it on Sikkim 365 Radio, and we've enjoyed that journey. And I have to be honest, when we first picked up the game against Bosqueville because of last year, I didn't know if it'd be 1 game or 2 or 3, and it's now 4 games deep. I am thrilled for Marlin's community, and I hope that for your sake and everyone else, it continues. Ruben, great job. Keep doing what you're doing. That school district has gotten to my heart because of all that they've done with so many people along the way. It's all about belief and also knowing it can get done. Thanks for your time, and good luck with Crawford.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate everything you do for sports and coaches and kids. Thank you.
Ruben Torres, the head coach at Marlin, has joined us. They play Crawford on Friday in Belton. Coming up next, another great story in Diboll, Texas, just south of Lufkin. They're in the quarterfinals for the first time ever with head coach Blake Morrison. He will join us next as the Texas High School Football Podcast Show continues, brought to you by Peters Chevrolet in Longview.
All roads lead to your largest selection of pre-owned in East Texas. 3306 West Grande in Tyler. It's time for a car buying experience you will enjoy at Peters Auto Sports. Cars from ultimate luxury to affordable economy. Trucks from work to play to all-out adventure. Come by 3306 West Grande in Tyler or visit us online at Peters Auto Sports and take advantage of our nationwide delivery. It's all here. Peters Auto Sports in Tyler.
For a limited time, refinance your vehicle and have 90 days with 0 payments. Only at Genco FCU. Refinancing lowers your rate and you pay less for your car. You can't pass on rates as low as 1.75% for 48 months. Apply online today.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. Go to GencoFCU.org. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
head football coach Blake Morrison with me, Sikkim 365 Radio, and our weekly high school podcast on 365 Sports. What is that town like right now?
It's got a little buzz, David. It does. It's got a little buzz around the town, and it's quite exciting.
You know, I covered high school football longer than I probably need to admit, but it's been 40 years, and I've been in towns that have experienced this before. You know, it's like, and even those who experience it all the time, the Dangerfields and the Carthage or whoever else, or even around here, Mart and Carthage, and Crawford and others, but it's to me, it's like the sign of the holidays, because you start to see windows on these shops with, like, whatever, shoe polish. Is it still like that now?
Well, I'm telling you, be honest with you, it was dying on the vine, so to speak, and you know, we played some games. I remember my first couple of years here, we made the playoffs, and after our 10th ball game, I got parents coming up to me saying, "Good year, Coach. We can't wait till next year, and we got a playoff game coming." So it took some time to change the culture a little bit, and yes. Last night on Facebook, people going around saying it's time to start putting stuff on windows, and people calling me wanting no slogans or what did we say and all this kind of stuff, and start writing on the, you know, putting on their businesses, and I think that's a neat deal.
So what are your slogans? You got a couple of them?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm old fashioned. I'm a hard hat, lunch pail, and steel toe boots kind of guy. So I mean, we just our biggest thing we do all the time is just day by day and believe in the process. That's it. And we ain't in. I mean, I'm not a rah-rah kind of guy. I mean, finally somebody on my staff the other day said, "Coach, whenever you call everybody up, you just blow the whistle when everybody comes up to you." I said, "Yeah." And I said, "You know, that's what I used to do whenever I played." And I said, "Coach, we got to get something." I said, "Well, look, y'all got to figure that out, because I've never put on pom-poms or a skirt before in my life, and I'm just, you know, when the whistle blows, we'll play. You know, when the ball snaps to the whistle blows, we'll play." That's the mentality we take.
You know, sometimes Diboll, when people look at their history, I know 1982, I was there. I covered Diboll in that area around Lufkin and Nacogdoches. They were 3 rounds deep. You went past that with your win this past week against Academy. But there has been, you know, 8-3s, 8-4s, an unbeaten team in 2000 that lost their first playoff game. And then you have had this run 2 years in a row, back to back into the second round. Then last year, COVID, and you took a step back, but you still made the playoffs. When did you feel like you were ready for this run?
Well, we thought really and truly, I mean, it's been we thought about 2000 and after the 2016 season, and if you go back and look at that season, we were 2-9, and we were fortunate enough to make the playoffs, 2-8, and feeling great, and we got to pick up Gilmer, and people, and I think they were ranked number 1 at the time, and I told the boys, and it goes back to this. We went back to that game, we played that game, and when we hit the field. And pregame, walking off pregame, we had 5 people in the stands. And Gilmer is packed. I mean, the band's already playing. They're not tuning up, they're playing. And cheerleaders, and they got signs everywhere. And so we went in, and I told the coaches, I said, "Look, we ain't talking here. Let's get them back on the grass." And we went out there, and we sat in the back of the end zone. And I told them, I said, "Boys, if we weren't playing this game, we pulled up in the pickup truck, pull the tailgate down, and sit in our lawn chairs, and we're going to watch a football game outside this fence. Who do you think's going to win?" Well, every one of our kids pointed to Gilmer. I said, "You daggum right." I said, "Ain't nobody," and that's when we started preaching everything between the white lines. Quit worrying all the other stuff. I said, that stuff would happen. I mean, let's focus between the white lines. And I told him, I said, we just need one group to start this thing. So we go out and we get our brains beat in. I think it was 50-28. And I played probably about 4 or 5 freshmen that game. And then we came back in the offseason, had a great offseason, and we started. And then we could see something to take. And the next year we got beat by Jasper. They kicked a field goal to win the district championship. The next year we lost to Franklin. at our place, by I don't know, a couple touchdowns, and that little group right there, that little group we had, the next year were seniors in 2019, and we thought, okay, it's taken. A lot of times people say it takes 3 years to turn around a program. Well, here it took us about 6. Just it wasn't because of so much the talent level. It was the belief. And I said, look, well, I've been preaching to them. I said, look, we're all 6 years old. When you're 6 years old, everybody believes in Santa Claus. So we got to start believing, and we got to start believing in the process and everything else. That year really kicked us off, and it started in 2016.
Well, it's been methodical. It really has. And here you are. You're in the quarterfinals, Lorena. I've known Coach Biles for a long time. You know their history, and they're obviously they've been beating people up. They played China Spring head up, and they're in the quarterfinals in 4A Division II. And it's going to be a challenge for you. They're putting up huge numbers. But you guys, just based on, and you and I called you. And I don't remember when it was. I think it was like you made the playoffs or you did something. You beat somebody, and I noticed it, and I called you one night out of the blue, and was so proud of the history of what what you created. But you're good, and you're a no-nonsense guy. Your thoughts about Lorena?
Well, they are a very talented ball club. This is probably my third or fourth time to go against Coach Biles over at Lorena. And, and I understand there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of opinions and everything. I think Coach Biles might be the best coach in the state of Texas. And that's just my honest opinion. He, in his down years, so to speak, his kids do everything that you're supposed to do the right way. And they're blessed with a lot of talent. They're huge up front. On both sides of the ball, on offensive line and defensive line. They're senior heavy in some areas that you want to be senior loaded in. The linebackers run, the running backs run hard. They got 3 sophomore receivers that are probably one of the, as far as a trio, I think they call them the 3 amigos or something like that. Those kids can go. And he's, and being honest with you, the same way, back when I was at Cold Spring, after we lost the big game to Carthage one year, I was talking to a buddy of mine, Coach Barbe, the head coach. I said, the thing is, at a small school like this, it's got to be a perfect storm. It's hard to, because, we're going to, next year we got, and so we start to build something. But whenever you get to a small school like this, it's got to be that perfect storm. And you got to have a little luck. And Coach Biles and the Lorena Leopards the stars are lined up for them, and so we got a tough task ahead of us.
All right, now you mentioned how long it took. People are in so much of a rush these days to get things done, and it would be great if you walked in the door and went 14-2 or whatever, or went 10-0, and it takes time. And obviously you have to be patient as well. Has it been something that for you with your career, has it been just as satisfying as you could imagine?
Yes. I love getting dirty, and it's not, I don't want to say me. I love we put a staff together here, and the staff that we have with these kids, and everybody's on the same page. Nobody has their own personal agenda. That's always a great thing. And it's not about me. Okay, I care less. Because next year I'll be here again. The year after that, if they'll have me, I'll be here again. It's just one of those things. The program is going to roll, but what mark are you going to put on the program? And these coaches and these kids have bought into it, and just to see where we come from to where we are now, God's blessed us a bunch.
One more thing, Blake. When a program has only been either in the playoffs, again, it's not like you have had this horrible stretch, but it takes something to get used to being a round or 2 or 3 or 4 deep. And you see some that do it, like what Carthage has done. I know they just knocked out what Surratt's done. But is it a mental thing or a physical thing when you're at a point where you've never been before? Which one is the most difficult challenge, if any?
It's the mental part. That's what, like I said, in the past, previous experiences, once you get once you get a foothold, okay, then it's so hard for those kids to overcome that. I mean, the pressure last week on us, on these kids, was tremendous because, this was, last week, school history, and so I told them before the game, we were nervous. It looked like, it didn't look like the same bunch. And I told them, listen, don't worry about it. Play the game. A buddy of mine's dad, Curtis Barbay, always told me this, and it's the truth. The name's already on the trophy. We're just playing the game. So, and just hopefully the good Lord puts your name on that trophy. But if not, just play the game and enjoy it and play it as hard as you can. Play it the way it's supposed to be played. And whenever it's all over in 48 minutes, we'll see what happens.
1-3 to start the year, and here you are in the quarterfinals. And you showed some resiliency, and I know you played good people as well. Thanks for your time, Blake. Congratulations. I love some of these stories that I remember where people were or where programs were, and I see them and have the success. Good luck. Thanks for your time, and appreciate you being a part of it.
Thank you, David. I appreciate you, buddy.
Blake Morrison, head football coach. The Lumberjacks of Diboll in the quarterfinals against Lorena and Bryant. 365 Sports.
All roads lead to your largest selection of pre-owned in East Texas. 3306 West Grande in Tyler. It's time for a car buying experience you will enjoy at Peters Auto Sports. Cars from ultimate luxury to affordable economy. Trucks from work to play to all-out adventure. Come by 3306 West Grande in Tyler or visit us online at Peters Auto Sports and take advantage of our nationwide delivery. It's all here. Peters Auto Sports in Tyler.
For a limited time, refinance your vehicle and have 90 days with zero payments. Only at Genco FCU. Refinancing lowers your rate and you pay less for your car. You can't pass on rates as low as 1.75% for 48 months. Apply online today.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. Go to GencoFCU.org. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Thanks again to our guests this week, and we hope you've enjoyed the weekly podcast on 365 Sports. We started this, and we will only get better and bigger and stronger and even do more. And as we get to a certain point of the playoffs, we're going to bring on more than just a couple of coaches. We have lengthy interviews. We'll do that, but also feature some key games, of course, next week as well. Speaking of the key games, here, according to our great friend Jerry Forrest, pigskinprep.com, he rates every team in the state of Texas. And then when they meet, he will take the rating, whatever classification, and then have his pick'em games, the best games. And the number to the right, as Armstrong puts up the graphic of the games coming up this week, this is without question the best week. Now, there's some great early non-district games against the elite teams, but think about this. The lowest number on the right means the better game, based on his ratings with Jerry Forrest and pigskinprep.com. The very top game, Shiner and Refugio. We've been waiting for this game since even before the season began, knowing they would probably play, and here they are in Class 2A. Shiner, Refugio's a slight favorite. That number to the right of Shiner is 1. That means they're a 1-point pick. And overall, the ranking combined is 3. That's the ranking of the two opponents, and the lower number, the better. South Oak Cliff, that's the team that shocked the world with their win against Aledo. Probably shocked everybody but South Oak Cliff. And it's a pick'em game. Don't know who's going to win, and I love it that way. South Oak Cliff and Lovejoy. Lucas Lovejoy out of Lucas, not Lucas Lovejoy, but Lovejoy out of Lucas. Again, what a game. A 5 total point to the right. Same thing with the game between Stephenville and Melissa. And there's that China Spring program we talked about playing West Orange Stark. They beat them last year, and they did really well. I think it was a block punt early in the game. They jumped all over the Mustangs. We know that the pedigree that West Orange Stark has, this is going to be fun. This game here, I think probably a few people thought it would be Carthage and West Orange Stark who weren't paying attention because China Spring has been beating people up throughout the year. Abbott in May. May's really good. Abbott won a state championship just, 3 or 4 years ago under Terry Crawford. They have just destroyed everybody. And Terry Crawford, I'll say this, every Friday night, the first one to contact me about nominations for Player of the Week is Terry Crawford with a full box score of everything. Love what he does with that. Also, a private school game, Parish Episcopal, a heavy favorite against Midland Christian by a couple of touchdowns. Then, Live Oak out of Waco. That's a 6-man team. They have a great history. They've won state championships before, and they are just a slight underdog to Faith Academy out of Marble Falls. There's Denton Ryan and College Station. I'm telling you right now, for College Station to be a 13-point pick against Denton Ryan is crazy, but that's how good College Station has been. Steve Huff, Marquise Collins, the record-breaking running back, and more. Also, you keep going down. There's Klondike and Richland, and Motley County, Strawn and Richland Springs. Strawn's a heavy favorite. Not many people have ever been heavy favorites against Richland Springs. By the way, Strawn, if you haven't seen it, go to Google or YouTube. Texas 6. It's an episode series on 6-man football in the city of Strawn. They've won 4 state titles, and they might win another one. Art Briles built Mount Vernon back up, got them on the cusp of a state championship game last year. They're on the cusp of the semifinals. West beat Malakoff. Tough game, 14-12. Mount Vernon, West a slight favorite with David Woodard, the head coach. Dangerfield, Wascom, I mentioned that one. Duncanville's a 2-touchdown favorite earlier this year, beat DeSoto. And it's kind of a lopsided game in the second half. And Claude Mathis said then that's going to cost us a district championship. They get another crack at them there in Class 6A. Windthorst and Albany, other games at Baptist Academy and Emory Weiner School. Whitesboro and Brock. Brock scored 70 last week against Jim Ned, and it's a 20-point favorite. There's Franklin, and I mentioned the Lions have just beaten people up and probably will against Poth. Heritage and Mansfield Summit in the game in Class 5A as well. Aubrey Salina, and then Holiday Gunner, and down to Cisco and Holly. The lowest combined score is 10. This is the best week ever, and it should be because you have teams in the same district who are good and teams in the same region have been on this collision course. Quarterfinals in every classification, 2A through 6A, and the semifinals in Class 1A or 6-man football. For Ruben Torres of Marlin, Blake Morrison, the head coach at Diboll. For our great sponsor, Peters Chevrolet and PetersCars.com, thanks to Randy Peters and Armstrong Sims behind the scene. If you have suggestions on what we should do for week number, what would be 15, I guess? If you want, you can email me, Smokey, HSFB for high school football at gmail.com, or find me on Twitter at David Smoke. For 365 Sports and our YouTube channel, it's another week of the Texas High School Football Podcast. Have a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy the games.